that we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, 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 everyone from all corners of the world. And we've got Vandana back. Yay! Yay! We haven't even started this session, but we're starting it anyway, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You have just joined us in the Diversity Inclusion panel supported by our CyberXR Coalition initiative. My name is Muki-Kulhan. I am your host and moderator for this session today. I am a cross-platform immersive XR producer, executive producer, and creative technologist with a background in the media and entertainment and broadcasting industries, and a very proud member of the CyberXR Coalition. So I think because we started a tiny bit late, rather than me, this session we will cover things that are rich and knee-deep in what makes diversity and inclusion so important in our emerging technologies. We have an amazing panel, cross-industry and cross-disciplined, that specialize in these kind of areas. So just to kind of cut more to the chase and cut my intro down, we're going to introduce each other one by one. Tell us your name, what you do for a living, and why not? Let's go your favorite lockdown dessert. Lawrence, starting with you.
Hi, I'm Lawrence Wagner with Spark Mindset, and my favorite lockdown dessert is peach cobbler.
Excellent. Hi, April. How are you?
Hi there, Muki and all. My name is April Boyd-Noronha. I am the Global Diversity and Inclusion Advisor for XRSI, as well as the lead for the CyberXR Coalition. Favorite dessert? I don't know. Cake, chocolate cake.
Why not? Why not? And Deirdre, how are you? Hello, welcome.
Yes. Hi. Deirdre Diamond. I'm the founder and CEO of both SecureDiversity.org, not-for-profit, bringing women into cybersecurity and supporting free training, as well as the founder and CEO for CyberSN. We're the largest cybersecurity direct staffing firm in the U.S.
Fantastic. And I know I got the tweak of your first name. Can you say it again?
Deirdre.
Deirdre. No worry. No one can ever say my name right, or most people think I'm a Japanese punk band until I show up in the room and I'm this crazy American Hungarian. Anyway, Vandana, welcome. Finally, we let you back in the room. It's only like 5 a.m. in India. So all the way from India, Vandana Verma, please introduce yourself and what you do in your company, and welcome. And your favorite lockdown dessert.
Oh, sure. So I'm one of the global board members of OWASP, Open Web Application Security Project. I also run a community called InfoSec Girls. So I'm one of the president for InfoSec Girls. My favorite dessert is custard apple, because there's nothing that I can make apart from that. So that's the easiest one.
Fantastic. And you probably think I'm getting away with my own lockdown dessert question, but I'm actually making too many desserts. A great one is banana, because you buy all the bananas and the fruit and they go mushy. You got to make banana bread, and a great banana cookie that's only 4 ingredients. It's banana, oats, peanut butter, and chocolate chips. 15 minutes, boom, Bob's your uncle. But back to the session, guys. So diversity, inclusion, emerging technologies, cybersecurity. We have lots and lots of questions to get through, and lots of things to bring up, from the online safety and how we have responsibilities, how our corporate communities have responsibilities. Let's thinking about the new gender bias issues that like even Google bring up, the UK government's releasing white papers on online harms, even in our building platforms, like how can we make sure that emerging technologies can start with inclusion and diversity and fairness and security and equality, and what role do we play in that in each of our sectors? So I'm going to have a quick throw to April, who's going to tell you a tiny little bit more about CyberXR and what we stand for and what we mean. And then I will throw to you, Lawrence, to kick us off. So firstly, over to you, April.
Yes, thank you, Muki. So the vision behind the CyberXR Coalition, well, let me take a step back. We started or launched earlier this year in 2020 under the umbrella of the XR Safety Initiative. And the catalyst for that was a need for a global, yet unified and collaborative D&I ecosystem that surrounded cybersecurity and XR. And so the vision behind that was to help build safe and inclusive environments around digital experiences. And along with that, though, to build that safe and inclusive ecosystem. But the meat and bread of the CyberXR Coalition is that it is seriously a global collective. We pretty much touch every end of the world when you look at who is comprised of the CyberXR Coalition. Equally important is the fact that we literally have diverse representation. When you go to our website, or you see our collective collage of all of our members, which includes the XRSI, in addition to 10 collaborative entities, individuals, and organizations that all appreciate and surround that diversity and inclusion collective vision. So when we talk about being a diverse coalition, we not only walk the walk, but we talk the talk.
And addressing those issues is what we've, the coalition's really newly formed. And yourself and Kavya, putting a great dream team together. And it's, we're all very super proud to be a part of it. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we get to you toward the end of the session, and plug some of the social channels and really let people know that they can contact us at any time. So, right, the joys of live streaming. The sirens in the background are after us. So Lawrence, welcome again. Again, when we caught up on the phone before this session the other day, what you do is so amazing and so fascinating. So I'd love for you to kind of deep dive into some of the initiatives that you're doing within D&I and your role.
Yes, so Spark Mindset prepares middle and high school students for cybersecurity careers. We focus on women and we focus on minorities, especially in low-income communities. So we look at cybersecurity as a way to break the cycle of poverty in their lives. And then in addition, we look to level the playing field. So when you hear things like affirmative action, things when they say, I wish I can judge people by their talents and not their race and not their ethnic gender. Well, you can't do that if you have Billy who starts this training in the 4th grade and you have Jamal and Mary who's getting this training in high school. So there's a big talent gap, right? So I don't get this information, I don't get access, I don't get opportunities until later in the game. So what we do is we engage middle and high school students through remote learning. So we can go online, like have them come online where they'll have live instructions, they'll work with our team, we'll provide engaging activities so they can learn about cybersecurity. And then when we do our in-person programs, we use virtual reality. So we use virtual reality games so they can see abstract concepts of cybersecurity in fun and engaging ways. We also prepare in high school. We have a 2-year program that prepares students for the Net Plus and Security Plus certification. So these are industry certifications that they would need so they can actually get jobs. And what we're trying to do is cut out these things, like when you hear from Cisco Cybersecurity Almanac, when you hear there's only 20% of women in cybersecurity. When you hear from the National Science Foundation that says there's only 3% of minorities in STEM career fields. When you hear from these organizations like Data USA that says information analysts, information security analysts, there's only 11.9% of Black employees and 7.9% of Asian employees. When you hear these stats, they're there because we're not providing a pipeline. So workforce people like what Deirdre does, she don't have talent, right? So when you hear the excuses, well, I can't find anyone. Well, you can't find anyone because the pipeline is so small. So we need to open up that pipeline.
And a lot of people aren't looking in the right places.
Correct.
So how do you make people aware, like with the programs that you've got going on? What kind
we partner with organizations like XRSI. We partner with Women in Cybersecurity, and by providing these partnerships, they can take our students and give them internships. They can give them career pathways, and so now you get to hear about us. We've talked to Kaiser Permanente, We're reaching out to Microsoft. Like, we're reaching out to these organizations and say, hey, we have a pipeline for you. But again, we look at the whole person, so we provide soft skills as well. But it's my job to prepare the pipeline, and then I pass the baton to a recruiter or another company. Says, hey, I have the people. We've trained them. We've gotten them ready. Now, okay, you have no excuse.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit more about how you are, setting some, encouraging companies to have precedences to have those mandates of, like, the 30% females in the class.
Yeah, so as part of our high school program, we, in the contract, says you have to have at least, and I want to stress at least, 30% of
minimum
girls in our program. I ran a pilot of our program, and I left it up to the school, and I had one girl in the pilot. I had multiple girls walk past my classroom and say, ooh, let me see what you're doing. I showed them. They was like, we would have signed up for this had someone told us. And so now I don't leave that for someone to tell them. I make the school be able to provide 30%. And if they don't, then they're not our partner. We know that you can't work with us. Like, that's a mandatory part of our program.
But what you're doing is so important and so amazing. So that way it fuels the companies that can, set those boundaries from the beginning and make people more aware. I think we are going to just change the order slightly from the deck. Is that okay? We're going to go straight to Deirdre, and then kind of tell us that, like, folding into where Lawrence picked up, and then we're going to have a good chat group chat shortly later. And I just want to apologize. Here I am, the one going, like, make sure everybody has their notification switched off. Whatever you said, Lawrence, triggered Siri on my phone, so I'm very sorry about that. We work in tech, folks. Whatever. We're all human. So there we go. So, hello, Deirdre. Just go ahead and reintroduce yourself and tell us how your company operates and moving D&I forward in cybersecurity.
Yeah, and in particular with what we're doing at XR Coalition, and why, like you said so well, all our different backgrounds coming together, which is to set standards.
Yeah.
And, what really interests me is setting the standards for inclusion, and what Lawrence is doing by getting to the populations that he's getting to and selling cybersecurity jobs in the way that he is a way of impacting inclusion, because so many lower income or regions throughout the world don't have access to people saying, hey, these cyber jobs are here. Yeah. And what I did going back about 4 years ago is develop the 35 job categories for cybersecurity. It started at 31 and now it's 35, and it'll continue to grow. And it's a resource that's really important when we think about inclusion and bringing in diversity, is what jobs do we have? And there's so many different kinds, and we have to be able to understand the different ones so that we can facilitate people coming in. And so I'm super engaged in that conversation, which is, how do we cover all job categories? We're short 2.5 million in the world, and it's only growing, and those go across all 35 job categories. And so we must focus on them all. And then most importantly, the reason why I'm super interested in this, standards creating, is that we need standards around how humans interact with humans. And XR technology, 2D technology, as we're all on these video conference calls now and interviews are on it's really a great time for me to continue my work in the emotional intelligence arena of skills. So we've got a lot of IQ going on in emerging technologies. We need to make sure we've got a lot of EQ skills going on in emerging technologies, so that we can welcome, these diverse people that come in. And so for years, I've been working around the content of what are the skills of emotional intelligence, and how does that show up in human interactions and team interactions. And so I'm really focused on helping create that, such that we can have our workforce happy too, not just have a workforce, but have a happy workforce.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that we were, just one caveat to anyone watching and listening and paying attention and everything. We had a brilliant slideshow prepared with some cool visuals with everyone's kind of expertise. Do you mind going into a little bit more detail on that definition of EQ?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We're all very familiar with IQ and testing our IQ and what have you. And the reality is IQ really caps out in terms of what one human's able to do by their early 20s, and most people late teens, but early 20s, it's safe to say that whatever your IQ you have. Emotional intelligence is different. It's been proven that this can grow for forever. And so what emotional intelligence is really, and this is a really important definition to break down. So it's the capacity to be aware. Aware is our conscious mind, which we use at like a 1% most of the time. So, it's a real art. It's a skill to be aware. So the capacity to be aware, control and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. And so we need to bring that into business and team interaction, whether it's one-on-one or one-on-many. There ought to be standards to how we engage in words and behavior greater than we have today.
And do you have any? Can you kind of rattle off any examples of even your draft notes of what that D&I playbook would look like? What is the language? What is the language that needs to be included and people need to be aware of, so we can kind of roll into that retention and how do people stay in a job rather than why are so many people leaving in a job? So a little bit of the playbook language and retention.
There's a framework that's super important, and one of the pieces to the framework is the ability to have a win-win conversation. Which means that somebody most likely isn't going to get exactly what they want in sort of that meeting or that discussion, and yet they're leaving feeling good, and they're leaving feeling inspired. And considering how many problems we're solving all day long and just, triaging problems, we're dealing with problems all the time. When we come at problems with this concept of, win-win, how do I make a win for everybody? What's the solution that is a win for everybody? And actually thinking about that before engaging in that solution, it's a totally different experience. People don't need to, feel anything other than respected to enjoy work, and so when people come at communicating with win-win, there's a high level of feeling of inclusion. And this is what's missing for everybody. This is what's missing for the majority of the workforce. And so when you try and put diversity, i.e. minorities, into that environment, they're just operating within that chaos too. And so in my opinion, it really doesn't work for anybody. It certainly doesn't work for minorities who can't find shelter in, teammates maybe. And so I want to change that game. I see our ability to bring in minorities and be inclusive really rides on our ability to communicate with win-win, with empathy and compassion, and with responsibility and accountability to equal treatment of roles and responsibilities. And so this matters to me greatly because I've experienced it. It's the reason, let me just tell you, it's the reason why I represent the 1% of women that are founding CEO tech leaders. It's because I worked in environments like that. Otherwise, I mean, why else would it happen to be that I was able to be?
Exactly. And we is really, really, really great points. And again, I bow to you for all of you, the 5 or 4 of you, for the work that you are, embedding into what society really needs to sit up and take notice for, which they are. It's down to your work. And we talked about there is no diversity without inclusion. And ultimately, it does come down to people and the skills that they need to rethink about their skill sets. And that's everything from like what we chatted about, from like, okay, staying calm, offer solutions, etc., to, that applies to the people that they hire. So what are the kind of tips that you can give for like maybe a manager, like how they can reset their minds to attract more inclusion, to make sure that they become successful as a manager and the company, and offer these people a chance? So it's kind of like the topic is around skills and the management.
Yeah, it's a great question, and one we need to think about, because we all know unconscious bias exists, right? And it doesn't make somebody a bad person. It's just how the brain works. I mean, the brain is mostly working in an unconscious state, which means programs, running patterns, just like our computers do. And so in order to not get caught in that trap, I think the best thing somebody could do is actually identify the tasks and the projects that they really need it done, that they want this person to do, and talk about those tasks. Talk about how they would go about it. See if you think they can do those tasks, versus this conversation about what maybe they've done in the past, or maybe we're not even talking about the job at all, like most people interview, really talk about the job, like what needs to get done. We should be so detailed in our job descriptions that it's easy to tell if somebody can do it.
Right. Exactly. And then I guess is higher education a part of it, to make like more inclusion in classes in a higher education level, because Lawrence and Vandana and April, and what you guys are doing. So
education is a problem, right? It's a financial barrier in this country and probably in the world. I haven't studied international. I know this country inside and out in terms of jobs and the tech industry and what have you. We have a financial barrier to education, and to include certifications, and the cost of them excludes people greatly. It is something that my Secure Diversity platform is doing to raise fundraising. We need, Vandana's programs, Lawrence's programs, that hands-on training, however, will outweigh it all day long. People want people that can actually come in and do things. And so what Vandana and Lawrence and others are doing, giving that hands-on stuff, game-changing. And it's the only way around it, because the certs are way too expensive and degrees for most people.
And I'm sure, like, the shift in the paradigm shift of people resetting their minds. Obviously, it's starting with a younger audience, but there is still hope for senior management of a certain age, or people that have been in certain industries, for quite a long time. Because what we see is, there's new terminologies popping up. Not only are there new terminologies popping up, and that next generation, there's new sectors popping up. We were talking about VR like 5-6 years ago, but technically, if you look at what kind of the things we're talking about now, even with the speed of 5G, which is not a global situation yet, there are ways to start to think about what are future career paths looking like as far as professions go. So I want to roll over. Thank you so much. I want to roll over into Vandana, like very nice segues here. And Vandana, a little bit more about where you're coming from and the kind of super cool things that you're doing with InfoSec Girls. And I've got like loads more questions for both of you, Lawrence and Deirdre, but we're gonna save it for the group bands later. So cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Vandana.
Sure. Yeah. Hi, I'm Muki. So with InfoSec Girls, we started with the idea of giving a space, safe space to women, where they can start getting interested in information security. Because when I was getting into the information security, I used to be the only one in the team. So that was like something odd for me. But then the idea came into picture, how about we bring more women into it? Now, when we start thinking around it, we get to know that we don't have enough women to enter to this field. There are certain restrictions they have, there are certain mindset they have. So it has to be a mindset shift. And especially in India, it has to be a
Mm,
proper cultural shift. So we started approaching more and more women and connected with them. We started like with this concept. We started with InfoSec Girls. We started meeting offline so that they can be part of the bigger community. Then now this has to come ground up. So we started reaching out to colleges, because if we don't have enough supply from there, then we cannot expect that, yes, from the offices itself we just go ahead and get the, get them onboarded to cybersecurity. So we started branching out and then started bringing college students. And when we
yeah,
target college students, we don't specifically target women, but we target both of them, because it has to
yeah.
be, everyone has to be on the same page. Everyone has to be onboarded and given the equal opportunities before even moving out of the college. So right now the initiatives that we have is, we are training college students on cybersecurity aspects, be it application security, network security, and then uh, telling them that how exactly the industry works, because cybersecurity is a very vast area. Anything that you have in IT, that has to have a cybersecurity associated with it.
Yeah.
So we have that. Then we conduct weekly sessions, which are online now. Earlier we were doing it like monthly on the YouTube channel, but now
Hmm.
they are, as we are all home, so we are doing weekly sessions. We
Yeah.
also do monthly meetups at different parts of India, like
Mm,
and even in US, Italy. We're branching out and like some other places as well. But every part of India, we have like over 15 chapters, and some more chapters are coming on. So we do monthly meetups wherein people can meet in person, because when you have a person in front of you, then you're feeling more closer.
mhm.
It gives you warm feeling. So till now, InfoSec Girls has conducted over 50 trainings, helped
Yeah.
over 3,000 candidates, diversity candidates, by providing and leveraging training opportunities in multiple countries, starting with the different parts of India,
Hmm.
USA, London, Egypt, South Africa, and there are a few more in pipeline, even in Tel Aviv, to name a few. Coming to the conferences, we have given training at APSEC conferences.
Yeah.
This training is free for anyone to attend at all
Excellent.
APSEC conferences.
That's inclusion
Done,
personified. You can't get better than all welcome here, right? So,
yeah, that's
so,
right.
yeah,
So
and then you've mentioned you've won quite a bit of awards. Are you able to kind of humbly announce those awards? Right.
okay, so recently we got a program of the year award by
Mhm.
Intelligenca at RSA conference. So that was one warming moment for us. Like all the work that we did for over the years, that paid off. Wherein the community at the bigger stage being recognized, and everyone is getting to know that there is some community which exists. And now we are collaborating with multiple other communities so that we can share the knowledge, because we all have the similar role to play here. We all
Yeah.
have the similar goals. So we, if when we collaborate, we share more. We share the stage at large. So
Yeah.
like we have collaborated with XR, Cyber XR, and many other communities. So we're trying to connect with as many people as we can, so we can share the knowledge.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, like, collaborating and sharing more. And we are in a day and age of, collaboration is more important than ever before. We're apart, but we're all together, and we're in this together. Are you able to kind of like cite some examples of some of the key collaboration successes that you've seen, that you've been able to push forward recently?
Yes, absolutely. So I would say that the recent ones, if I can say that we have collaborated with conferences, so we recently did a training at OWASP Seaside, wherein we had over 170 people in the class. It was conducted by me and few other trainers, and
Hmm.
even the volunteers were women. So anyone could chime in the training, but then the volunteers and arrangement, everything was done by us. So that was quite a good number. Then we did a training at APSA California in January,
Yeah.
and we did few in the past years, like at APSEC DC, where I did a keynote on diversity. So I did a proper keynote on diversity and inclusion at the Global AppSec DC OWASP.
Hmm.
And like I can go on and on. There's a huge list.
Oh, well, we have all day or all night, girl. Don't you worry. But I know it's like 5 in the morning in India, so we, and I know that. Are you able to kind of reveal when we chatted the other day? I mean, you kind of were hinting at some big announcement coming up and a big headline. Are you able to kind of discuss that here? Breaking news, live through CyberXR.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had talked about InfoSec Kids earlier. We did certain sessions at conferences, but then now we are officially live. We are doing sessions with the kids. We specifically trying to mentor kids, because when we talk about kids, like starting with 4-year-old, my 4-year-old knows how to play videos on YouTube, how to skip ads, how to click on ads, all of that. He knows how to operate laptops when we didn't know about it. Now every kid, when they are working on the laptops, so they need to understand that what cybersecurity is, especially on the social media ethics, that what should they be doing, because we know that kids are the soft target and they are becoming becoming prone to the cyberbullying, which shouldn't happen to the kids. So we are trying to educate them about all such topics by gamifying it. We are telling them what they can do when they're using their phones, what they should be doing. And similarly, the similar guidance is there for the parents as well, because parents,
Sure.
it's very difficult to manage what the kids watch on the phones or on the laptops. So what they should be doing, like, it's just an overseeing, not controlling.
Of course. And I think we applaud you tenfold, and we've got some really great feedback coming up in the chat here. I've switched over to the event chats. I'm not backstage anymore. We're front of stage. So thank you very much. There's definitely some actionable intelligence. A lot of familiar faces that you guys might see. We finally to our fourth speaker today, April Boyd-Noronha, and I think it's so important, again, what you guys are doing, not only with, the CyberXR group, but I want you to tell me about you and what you're doing as founder and CEO of CyberSN and this founder of Secure Diversity Network. So over to you, April.
Well, and yes, and most importantly, that as the lead for the CyberXR coalition, and as we've seen with all the panelists here as well, is we each bring our unique, distinctive expertise to the table. And the CyberXR coalition was very intentional with that. Not that we wanted to exclude anyone, because that's the opposite of what we're about. But we were very intentional with whom we let join and engage with in this coalition. I do want to circle back to two things, though, about the mission of the coalition. Is, two mainframes of it was to address social and technical biases in the XR and cybersecurity realm, and then two, to build that safe and inclusive ecosystem, which all of us have spoke about before. But then that brings me to myself as the lead role with the CyberXR coalition, is that, people ask, well, how did you get involved in it, or what's your background or journey? And I always refer to 3 Ps. First and foremost, and some of us have talked about it previously, is that I'm a parent. And when looking at emerging trends and where the next gen needs to be positioned, I have 3 children. My oldest is a 21-year-old daughter, and she's upstairs now. She's interning, where she's able to work from home. And, the dynamics of that, both your mom and myself and her work from home. Years ago, it would have never happened. So, when we talk about being inclusive and creating safe environments of that cybersecurity, and she's a cybersecurity major. Yeah. And so my youngest daughter, age 18, just came back from studying abroad and wants to be an aspiring behavior analyst. And then my youngest son, youngest child, a son, is 14, and he's already an award-winning competitive drone pilot. So when we talk about making sure that there's that pipeline available, when we talk about making sure that when they do enter the workforce, that they feel safe, that they feel inclusive, that it is diverse. And kind of to what Vandana spoke to already, the parents are on the forefront of this. We are on the forefront of that. My second role as a professor, I teach health information management. cybersecurity and computer information systems. So I like to brag and say that I teach in the trifecta of programs at the college. So I distinctly love that. Love it. So I'm uniquely positioned in that area. But then along the way, parent, professor, I also serve as an advocacy role. I have a consulting business, the STEM broker, where, like many of us here today, I bridge that gap and make sure that that pipeline is not siloed at any point. And so I just serve in that role, which brings me to today as the global advisor for D&I for XRSI, lead here at the CyberXR Coalition. So it's come to fruition, and for most of us here on the panel today, but that is what makes us and the CyberXR Coalition uniquely positioned to do what we do.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. And what everything that we're all collectively talking about today leads down the road to a shinier road of diversity and inclusion. And, I do put inclusion first before the diversity as well. And, you were mentioning, these are new ecosystems that we're adopting and formulating. In April, I'd love you to kind of go into your 3 A's. You mentioned your 3 P's. But the 3 A's going into the new ecosystems of D&I.
And I'm trying to refer to my slide, but yes, when we look at our role collectively as the cybersecurity CyberXR Coalition, we know that there's going to be a global collaborative effort for us all. And so when we look at how can we best position and leverage ourselves with this collective expertise that we have, when we ask and ask for further engagement, we see 3 roles that persons can serve in. And that is as an ally, where you are strategically positioning our cause. And it's not our cause because it's a collective cause, but where you, as an ally, you strategically position our cause, whether that's in a private meeting, whether it's on a golf course, and you guys know where I'm heading with this, but to where we cannot get into or where we have not been invited, you can serve as our ally. Now, a second role is that people collectively in the community can serve as our advocate, where you consistently promote our collective goals. We already talked about our mission and our vision, but as an advocate for or with the CyberXR Coalition, you can collectively and consistently provide and promote our collective goals. And then a third role is to serve as an active participant. And that's where you are actively supporting our mission. And one perfect way to do that, I'm going to kind of pitch it here, is to pledge to the concerted effort of the CyberXR Coalition. What we do as a collective, and as I mentioned before, it's the XRSI and then 10 strategically, strategic persons that we are collaborating with, whether they are an entity, an organization, or an individual, such as what you see here in the panel today. Now, the good thing about this, when we're talking about your role, the collective audience there, your role, now you can serve in all 3 of these roles. You do not have to only position yourself for one, so you can equally serve as an ally at some point in time, an advocate, and as well as an active participant along this journey with the CyberXR Coalition.
I think it's thank you so much for laying down those foundations.
Yeah.
And can you just rattle off the website again and the social handles where people can find?
Yes. So we have a get started with us link on the xrxi.org website. And that will lead you right there to show all of the other organizations that we collaborate with, and specifically lead you to specific ways where you can collaborate with us, and the different ways that I suggested today, and then that are available on our website, xrsi.org. And then there is a CyberXR Coalition link that'll take you right to us.
Perfect. And I've stuck that in the chat. So ladies and gentlemen, from around the world, every time zone, every corner, no matter where you are, what room you're in, we are going to start to open this up to any kind of audience participation. So think about some of the questions you'd like to ask my beautiful, talented, super intelligent panel. I'm going to start a little group chat first while maybe getting people warmed up. And if there are no questions right now, you can also feel free to contact us through the website, and we'll get back to you on Twitter. We've got our social handle. I did put it on that last slide. The Twitter handle is @CyberXR. I should know that. There we go. So as a group, let's just feel free to chime in with each other as best we can on one video talking at a time. What is the most important thing to you? I'm going to go back to you, Lawrence. I know you're. I didn't want you to feel like you're left out. But what is the most important thing to you as far as like shifting the mindset of the world? So the name of your company is brilliant because it's Spark Mindset. And I love that. I love it. So kind of putting that to you, but also what's the most important thing about shifting the viewpoints of diversity, inclusion, equality within our tech communities and emerging technologies, starting with you, Lawrence?
It's a combination of things, right? So the first one is I want to give people hope. One of the things is when you use our term spark, is to spark light in them and the idea that they can do anything that they want to do, right? And so in order to spark that hope and that light in them, you have to give them access and you have to give them an opportunity, right? Yeah. So you have to show them that these are something that they're able to do. And then that way that these kids can like, hey, I can accomplish anything that I put my mind to. And hey, these are some opportunities I never heard about. Wow, these are interesting. How do I get involved? And then for organizations and then for companies, what I want to do, again, while we're creating this inclusive pipeline of these people, I want them to say, okay, they exist, right? These people and kids and women, they exist and they are capable, just like our white male allies, to do this work, right? So like, how do we level that playing field, but also how do we provide that pipeline? And I just want to jump on what Deirdre said about diversity, equity, inclusion. It actually should be inclusion first, equity, right? So inclusion is I get to be my whole self. I get to be my authentic person when I come in and show up to work. Equity is there are rules in place, which is what our organization is trying to put out. There are rules in place that say I will be fairly treated. I will be treated just like everyone else. And if you put those together, the byproduct of that is diversity.
Exactly.
We always want to put diversity first. And when you put diversity and you put someone based on race or gender or sexual preference into an environment that's not inclusive, they will die, right? They will leave because you would like crush them, right? So we want to provide a pipeline to organizations that have this in place. And that's why it's important for us to partner with organizations like Deirdre and Vandana and XRXI, because these kids need to be able to continue that hope and that spark that we put inside of them.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. So hope and access. Deirdre, the most important thing to you, over to you.
Yeah, I'm twofold too. So one is, everybody, whether they're young, any age, any gender, being fulfilled in work is really important to me. We spend more time working, and having realized in my life that I enjoy my work so much, and so do the people I get to work with, that those cultures, can also make money. And big money, and so I want to be able to make sure that everybody has access to that opportunity, and not just the 1% that gets the culture, that has that creates that, right? And then the second piece is that words are just tied to that, words and behavior. And while society has put in laws of discrimination and harassment and assault and so forth, society has been really reluctant to take that into real, work accountability. And so I'm really committed to managers. Anybody who's, I don't consider a manager necessarily a leader, or a leader to be a manager. A manager means somebody reports to them, or multiple somebodies report to them. And anybody that has a management title being accountable to words and behavior that creates inclusive environments. And that is super important to me because it will create people loving their work environment. So, they're tied together, but the foundation of the accountability to managers and words and behavior is super first.
Words and behavior. I think we're finding our two keywords. And what about you, Vandana? Like, do you agree with those? Are there things popping out in your mind that are going down that road?
I absolutely second what Lawrence and Deirdre said. Even I would add just a few lines to it. Without inclusion, we cannot have diversity. And if we have diversity, we can cultivate more diversity. And by looking at the people or the number of people we have in cybersecurity workforce, it's not very much. We have a very small community. And especially with skills and personality traits, it becomes more and more smaller. So we need to have diversity and inclusion in place. And the way we talk about a skills shortage in this field,
Yeah.
when we start looking at diverse people from different backgrounds, from different arenas, gender, ethnicity, it brings us to a different level, and we can fill in that space as well. So we all are approaching in a similar way, and we all have to work towards it.
So I'm hearing skills growth, cooperation, and again, back to collaboration. And rounding out with you, April, and we're going to get some audience questions coming in too.
Great. Well, from the standpoint of the CyberXR Coalition, I have to go back. I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. At this point, so we know we have four dynamic persons besides myself on the panel today. So, collectively or individually, what is your role going to be? I with every presentation that I give, I always like to have a call to action. So now, what is the call of action? What is going to be your role? We've laid out three already: the ally, as an advocate, an active participant, or all three. But at this juncture, at this point in time, we know it has existed. We know it currently existed. We don't want it to exist as it does in the future. So what is your role? And be intentional. And we all talked about the accountability factor. But what is your role? What are you going to do about it?
So it's stepping up, taking some action, but it's following through.
Being intentional about it, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where I think anyone that's listening and watching or watches this back or listens back on demand, it's a challenge out to you in a positive way to choose a new way to think and take some actions about it, and let us know what comes out of the little mini goal that you're setting. And is that hiring somebody that you've not hired before? That look around your teams, physically, emotionally, the skill sets, the levels, and looking around you and choosing to make good choices and good additions to where we're at. So I want to go to our little chat, and we've got some of our audience asking some questions here. So Isaiah Jones from, I'm not sure where you're based, but we got a question about how are you reaching inner city and the poor rural school kids? Who would like to kick off with that one? So
I can start with that.
Sure, go for it, Vandana.
Sure. Especially in India, if we say InfoSec Girls is trying to tie up with a lot of NGOs because they have the content to reach the rural areas. The only problem is the people. So we are collaborating with them. We are helping them with the resources and going to the rural areas so that we can get them onboarded as well. Because there are places where the technology is still not there. So we need to make sure that we have the technology for them available, and then we bring cybersecurity to them.
Perfect.
Yeah. We're in a time where rural and inner city has the most access that they've ever had because of COVID. There's organizations that's providing these kids with free internet. There's, of course, there's people that provide them with computers, Chromebooks. And so how do you partner with organizations or collaborate with organizations that's already in these communities that has access to these kids. And so for us, like we work in New Orleans, we partner with Youth Force NOLA. And so they are already working with inner city kids. We're reaching out to the Boys and Girls Club. So finding organizations that's already working with the kids instead of having to reinvent the wheel.
You know, that's a great, I'm so glad you brought that up about working with the organizations, because there's likely to be grown adults running these organizations. And Isaiah in DC, USA, welcome again. We found out where he's from. You know, was touching on, like, are you working to educate the parents? So April, Deirdre, anything? I mean, obviously, you know, in the grown-up adult workforce, there are likely to be parents in there, which hopefully, if they are able to embrace and take action on some of the, you know, the playbooks that are being created, they'll be able to apply that within their own home and teach their children the next.
You know, one thing that I caution as I consult or talk with parents of children that are or not in a STEM or on a pipeline for emerging technologies is that you don't have to be a guru yourself. I wasn't a guru myself. Now, my children were familiar or relatively comfortable with being around computers, and I ran a couple of computer labs, yada, yada. So I was comfortable with that, but comfortable enough to or introduce them to that. But they still have to find their own way. But I always preach that parents are the greatest untapped market in this whole dynamic. We really are. And I always caution parents, if you are not a guru, don't worry about it. Just show them the way. Because we have the Deirdres and the Vandana and the Lawrences and the Mukis out there that will be waiting. And the CyberXR coalitions that will be waiting to show them the way.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one thing that we probably could have deep dove, and maybe this is a separate panel, part 2 panel coming up shortly, soon, about, you know, making our platforms safer and more accessible and more inclusive. And when if anyone eavesdrops in on our CyberXR calls, that's all I'm banging about, because a lot of the things that the people that I'm hiring and products that we're working on, and the big major brands, and that's a broadcaster or a record label, you know, they're having to use platforms that exist already that have now are playing catch up on how to be inclusive and secure. And, you know, I rattled off Google and YouTube and the things that these major companies, Facebook and everything, you know, did they build that from the beginning with that in mind? Probably not, maybe, but are new companies starting to do that, and are existing companies changing the way that platforms are made? Yes, I certainly bang on to that. And I think that's probably another panel, but I know where we started a little bit late, and we have a full session of events coming up for the rest of our SciA 10X Cybersecurity Awareness Tour. So one final wrap-up word from everyone, please. And starting again with Lawrence, and then Deirdre, and then Vandana. One final word of positive action, if you in one sentence, please.
Yes, I think the word is again, I must always go back to opportunity and access. And we need to start getting these opportunities and access to kids, even younger than the middle school kids that I'm working with. You know, we need to really start at elementary, but, you know, there's other organizations that do that. And so, yeah, that's what we need to do that.
Cool. Over to you, Deirdre.
I'd say we all want the same things in life. If we think about it, we all want a job that we can count on, that's interesting and really works with our brain. We all want to feel respected. We all want to feel loved. We all want to make as much money as possible. And so if we all want the same things, then we all ought to, you know, come to the table with the same behaviors so that everybody can get it. I really want people to recognize we can all have it. It's really, you have to participate in that program.
Perfect.
Having it all.
And over to you, Vandana. Thank you, guys.
So I would say, if in the community you feel like that you don't belong, then buckle up. Believe in yourself and engage with the technical community that we have here. We are all there for you. Leverage as many opportunities from scholarships, from travel grants, from meetup groups, networks, and the communities that we have here, because we all are from different groups, but we are all supporting the same cause.
Yeah.
Perfect. And wrapping up with you, April, before we sign off for the session.
Right, and just to reiterate, the crust or the gist of the CyberXR Coalition is that it is a global collective. The XRSI, the 10 other groups that join us, you can go to our website for that information. And then equally important, we are a diverse representation of various realms, CyberXR, in the emerging technologies of this time.
Awesome, guys. And I just we're gonna wrap things up. I just want to thank my brilliant panel. Round of applause, everybody. Round of applause.
Yay.
I hope it's clapping everywhere that we are live, we're on stage, we are global, we are around the world, we are CyberXR, and we are live at SIA 10X Cybersecurity Awareness Tour. Thank you so much, April, Deirdre, Vandana, and Lawrence. I know we've got some friends, Lisa, Kavya, and Alina. Everybody's live. Thank you to Claire and Jonathan and Marco and everybody. And you can also hit us on socials at CyberXR. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the conference. See you out there in cyberspace, but in a safe way.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Stay home.